AKJohnson, and today I'm going to be going over the paper Prototyping an Experimental Early Warning System for Rainfall-Induced Landslides in Indonesia using Satellite Remote Sensing and Geospatial Datasets by Lau et al. This paper was published in 2010. Dr. Hong was one of the authors. The overview, I'll have an introduction, then I'll go over the goals of what the paper was trying to accomplish, the basic framework of the landslide warning system, the different methods they used, their results, the general conclusion of the paper, and then just my personal thoughts on why I chose this. For the introduction, the prototype was an early warning system for rainfall-induced landslides in Indonesia, and basically there are three components to this early warning system: susceptibility mapping and hotspot identification, and this is based on a geospatial data set, and it's basically topographical information, maps of soil properties, and local landslide inventory, like how often landslides happen or they've been observed. A satellite-based precipitation monitoring system and precipitation forecast model. And then the third component is a physics-based rainfall-induced landslide prediction model, denoted as SLIDE. It uses a modified physical-based model to calculate a factor of safety, amounts of rainfall, infiltration and partial saturation of the shear strength of the soil in complex terrains, is what that model is based on, and the purpose was to move an empirical system to a more physically based modeling system. And this is used data from satellite remote sensing platforms and public domain data, and it was to build a technique that can be transferred to other landslide prone areas. As mentioned in the previous slide, there are three major components to the framework of this warning system. The first one being susceptibility mapping and hotspot identification. And this is basically topographical and soil properties to determine slope stability. Some sort of precipitation monitoring system, and this is just to kind of understand rainfall amounts and when and where they occur and how long they last for. And then the final is the modeling component, SLIDE, slope, infiltration, distribution, equilibrium. And basically it calculates the triggering component of the factor of safety, FS, to determine the slope stability during these rainfall events from the data found in the first two items of the framework. The area of study in this paper was Java Island, Indonesia. Typhoons are fairly frequent in this part of the world. This is in the South Pacific. And these typhoons, they cause flooding, and they are the primary driver of the landslides in this area. And they happen every year. From 1981 to 2007, there's an average annual landslide frequency of about 49 events per year. Right here you can see these are cities, the little dots. And then this is just an elevation model, and with the little stars are the landslides, the observed landslides. This shows the landslide susceptibility map that was produced for this warning system. You can see here this is the susceptibility map of Java Island, the whole island. And this is a 1 kilometer spatial resolution to get the hotspot. And this square here is the actual hotspot study area. And this is a blown up version of that. And this second figure here is a 30-meter aster resolution. And everything within this square is the calculation zone for the factor of safety in this model. Other things to see, the landslide inventory on the bigger map. It shows little stars. That's where they've occurred before. You can see in the area study there's a few of them in there. This shows the NASA TRIM, which is the Tropical Rainfall Measuring Mission, and this is the precipitation map that was produced. In this figure, it shows the accumulated rainfall from December 24th, 2007 to January 2nd, 2008. The highest amounts of precipitation were, you can see they're over the ocean here. You can see the land in the center here, Borneo, and the Java Islands right here. But with this rainfall, they actually received about 250 millimeters of precipitation within that time frame in the center of the island where the area of study was. They also used the weather research and forecasting models to forecast the typhoon rainfall at about 4 kilometer spatial resolution. The third component to this system is the slide model. So basically rainfall triggers slope failure, and this is due to water reducing the shear strength, and it increases the shear stress of the soil layer. What the slide model does is it simulates the net water amount staying in the soil substrate. It does this differentially rather than exponentially to access both the increase and decrease of water amounts in the layer in a single rain event. So the slide model is actually modified for 2 previous studies. The first one was Freeland et al. In 1996, and then the second one was Monstreso and Valentino in 2008. And basically it's a mathematical model that translates the physical processes of how rainfall induces landslide. And it basically does this by highlighting the destabilization forces, by the water downflow, and then the contribution of the partial saturation to the shear strength of the soil. I should also mention that this model assumed that the soil layer was 2 meters, and they did this instead of using burying thicknesses to reduce computational load when the model was actually ran. And you can see here in this cartoon to the left, it just kind of shows the precipitation moving down, and then where the slip surface would be from the in between the saturated and unsaturated layers, and that's where the slip surface is assumed. So moving on to the results, you can see in Figure A on the left, this was the model that was based on the NASA TRIM in Indonesia, and as you can see, the red line is the factor of safety, and on the bottom part of the graph, the green represents the accumulation over time, and then the bars represent the rain intensity. You can see that at the highest intensity rain, the factor of safety went well below where they would expect a landslide, which is a value of 1, and that's represented on the orange dash line. So at the highest rain intensity, they would expect a landslide in the high susceptibility areas in the area of study. Figure B shows the same thing, but this was with the WRF model, and this was kind of used to just verify what was found in Figure A. And you can see the factor of safety just barely goes under 1. The actual value was 0.99. So they predicted that the landslide would occur, but it would occur a little later. And another thing to realize in these graphs is the TRM M in Figure A. There's a lot more water in that one, and then, well, the intensity was stronger, I guess. And then the second one, there's 150 millimeters precipitation over this, so the whole storm event. This this is just a quick map showing the factor of safety. This is the 30-meter Aster digital elevation model down. So you can see where the factor of safety in the model actually went close to 1, and that's where they would expect the highest probability of landslides occurring. And you can see the stars here actually show landslide inventory. So for the conclusion and summary of this paper, basically because the soil columns during rainfall events is a pretty important factor in determining slope failure, the slide model was able to link water content in the soil column and to actual precipitation events, and it produces a factor of safety that can be used to determine the likelihood of a landslide event happening. They're actually able to, in this model, to predict successfully the occurrence of 2 landslides on the same dates as the real events. The prediction time for the modeling results shows only a 3-hour delay for the December 26, 2007. And this little figure just kind of shows the elevation models and the weather forecasting and susceptibility maps, and then slide here in the middle uses this to create these hotspot areas, and they can get a time, location, and of where these can be predicted. So my personal thoughts quickly, I have a background in geology. I've always kind of had an interest in natural hazard mitigation. I thought this was a pretty interesting approach, utilizing those 3 components of the warning system. And my plan moving forward is I'll probably try to research how this model has evolved over the last 10 years since this paper was published in 2010. Here's the citation for the paper, and if you have any questions, feel free to message me via Canvas, or you can email me. I'll put my email in the place where you found this link. And thanks for listening.